I want to talk about the dangers of stolen vehicles that are left running and stolen in the early morning hours. In December 2016, the Calgary Police Service initiated Operation Cold Start to educate Calgarians of the dangers of leaving vehicles unattended. In a week-long period between 6 a.m. and 8 a.m., 885 vehicles were found unlocked and running with the keys inside. In response to this, the Calgary Police Service launched Operation Incessant, which involved multiple overt and covert resources across the service. For a 2-week period in January and February, officers from patrol, the district operations team, and the support section were staged in areas of the city with high numbers of vehicle thefts. When a vehicle was reported stolen, officers were able to flood the area in an attempt to locate that vehicle. In total, 7 people were charged with 24 criminal offenses, 9 charges under the Traffic Safety Act, and 18 outstanding warrants executed. 11 stolen vehicles with a value of $147,000 were recovered. 8 additional criminal charges and 4 under the Traffic Safety Act are pending against an 8th individual whose name will be released once charges are formally laid. In one case, an offender stole a vehicle utilizing keys for that vehicle that had once been previously stolen. When the vehicle was recovered, the keys were not with it, and he utilized those keys to come back and steal the vehicle a second time. When that offender was arrested, he was found in possession of keys for 3 different stolen vehicles. Charges in relation to this operation include theft of a vehicle, possession of stolen property over $5,000, possession of stolen property under $5,000, possession of stolen credit cards, possession of identity documents, obstruction of a peace officer, identity fraud, driving while disqualified, multiple charges of possession of controlled substance, and various breaches of release orders. There were 2 young offenders charged, a 14-year-old and a 15-year-old male. A 19-year-old Joshua Dale Vaughn was charged with possession of stolen property under $5,000. Ian Edward Morris and Sage Bartman of Calgary are charged with a number of offenses and failed to appear in court. As a result, warrants have been issued for their arrest. Photos are available in the newsroom of both of those offenders. Samantha Lynn O'Brien was charged with possession of stolen property under $5,000, and Blake Jedniak was charged with multiple offenses in relation to stolen vehicles. Any questions?
Is there kind of a common thread among all these offenders?
There is and isn't. We're finding that there is multiple offenders. There's people that we didn't previously know would be taking part in such offenses, but unfortunately, we as a community are making it too easy for these offenders, and we see different names committing these offenses because we're leaving vehicles running unattended, and it's simple for somebody to come along. The other downside is because it's so easy, the offenders are targeting this. They're driving around communities in already a stolen vehicle, targeting other vehicles. And as we saw by one offense, the offender had 3 separate sets of keys. So they're coming back again and again because we're making it too easy for them. This week alone, there's been 23 vehicles stolen while running in the early morning hours, 4 alone this morning.
So what's happening to these vehicles? What's the use? Are you recovering a lot of them, or what's the...
90% of the vehicles are recovered, but the downside is that they are utilized in other crimes. We saw an example, we see it on a daily basis, unfortunately, but just this week on Tuesday morning, a vehicle was stolen from northeast Calgary and a few hours later used in a robbery of a liquor store on Center Street, where the offenders were armed with bear spray. So that is just one example. when I spoke about the arrests of Mr. Morris and Ms. Bartman earlier, a search warrant was conducted at their residence, and a significant amount of property was recovered, including counterfeit money, over 134 identity documents from 74 different victims. So it's not just the case of a simple stolen car. These offenders are utilizing those vehicles, multiple stolen vehicles, to commit offenses across the city and outlying communities.
Sergeant, how alarming is it, how disturbing is it that there's a 14 and 15-year-old involved in this?
That's the unfortunate part, is that it's so easy for people to do this. Anybody, any age. You can walk down the street and find vehicles unattended, unlocked, and running. Days are gone by where it used to be that offender who we knew in the community walk by and it's a crime of opportunity. We're giving them gifts by leaving these vehicles unattended, and it just continues on and on.
We'll be covering stolen vehicle cases. Obviously, there's a big tie to, obviously, the drug problems that go on in the city. When you have youth, though, like 14 to 15-year-olds, is it possible that these youths are being recruited that young to be part of these particular, crime circles, or is it? I mean, do we know if it's specifically about just crimes of opportunity? They're doing it on their own. They see it on.
Is it organized, or is it a
Yeah.
one-off?
Yeah.
I think is what he's asking.
I think there's examples of both throughout. These two individuals, the two youths here, were responsible that morning for the theft of 2 different vehicles. I can't say whether they're ties to organized crime. I guess the underlying point is it's just too easy to do. And what they were going to do with them, they had the 2 vehicles that we recovered, they were together. And we're seeing that more and more because it's so easy. As a result of investigations into a variety of these offenses, we're finding that there are shopping lists, there are requests for specific vehicles. So it's not that simple, let's go find a vehicle for a joyride. They are targeting these vehicles because we make it so easy for them. And they're shopping to order, and it's citywide, everywhere in the city.
Which neighborhood was this in?
The young offenders, or
The operation where there's a bunch of
citywide.
police oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is there anything that can be done? Go ahead. Is there anything that can be done if your vehicle is stolen and no keys come back? That should be is there
Absolutely.
anything you can do
So there are a number of things that victims should do when their vehicle is stolen. There's things that we should do to prevent that from being done. Obviously, the first and foremost is don't leave your vehicle running unlocked, unattended. Just 4 this morning, it's cold out, but we just shouldn't do it. 0 would be the perfect number. Leading up to that, we shouldn't leave garage door openers in vehicles outside of our garage, because if you leave that vehicle unlocked or the window gets smashed, they're into your house, they're into your garage, and they're into your house. So we shouldn't leave garage door openers in vehicles. You should not leave a spare set of keys for that vehicle or any other vehicle in any vehicle, because that happens more often than not too. They'll fish around in the vehicle until they find the keys for that vehicle, and off they go. Or they find one in the garage, and now they've got 2 of your vehicles. If you are a victim of the theft of a stolen vehicle and your garage door is in there, is in there, keys for your vehicle, keys for your house, that all needs to be rekeyed immediately. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. The cost is really inconsequential as to what can happen, because they will come back. They will come back to your house, they will come back to your vehicle and steal it again. There's no question. So if it happens, you need to take those steps immediately. And we saw an instance like that last week. It wasn't a running vehicle, but a vehicle was broken in, a locker was broken into in a gym facility. The keys and the victim's identity was stolen, and they came back 2 days later and stole the victim's vehicle from his driveway. And they still had possession of those keys when they were arrested. So we can't say they were going to go back to the house, but it's a possibility. So immediately rekey the vehicle, rekey the house, and recode the garage door opener.
Is there an area or, I'm sorry.
Sounds like the public is partly to blame too, for leaving their simple things like
leaving their car running, it's a given.
Yeah, I don't want to lay blame because, I mean, today, this week, it's been cold, but at the end of the day, it's just not worth it, right? That minute, and sometimes they take a few minutes to go back into the house thinking they're going to warm their car up, no problem, but it takes less than a minute with these criminals that are driving around looking for that. That's all they need is less than a minute. There's been instances, as odd as it sounds, where I forgot my coffee. I'll just leave my car in the driveway. And how long does that take? 30 seconds maybe? Car gone. So we can't do it. It's that plain and simple. It doesn't matter how cold it is, we just can't leave vehicles running because they will be stolen.
Which area of the city or which is the main area where you guys were seeing these vehicles that's happening in the neighborhood or?
It's citywide. That's the thing. There is no community immune to it. It is a citywide issue.
But do you see higher numbers in some places than others?
Not really. It is across the city. There's no community immune. The people leave their vehicles running all over the city, unfortunately. So when we addressed it, we focused on the numbers that were provided to us by analysis in the days leading up to it. But we found, as we knew, it's all over the city.
Vehicle theft number is up, would you say, or is it kind of consistent over the past?
In 2016, we saw a 51% increase in vehicle crime. So far this year, I don't have the statistics yet for the first 2 months, but I would say on a daily basis, monitoring the numbers, I don't see them declining, unfortunately, again, because we make it too easy sometimes.
When you say vehicle crime, though, what falls under that heading?
The theft of vehicles and crimes associated to them. Any crime you can imagine, unfortunately. As I said earlier, the crime of robbery, that vehicle was used in an armed robbery. Some hours later, just hours later after being stolen, the result of the search warrant here where there is a mass amount of property from car prowlings, break-and-enters, thefts. It covers the gamut of crimes.
Which is the offender who was found to have keys of another stolen vehicle?
That offender is Blake Jedniak.
And so, anyone here related to each other that you know of? Any
No.
Relations? Or like and I don't mean family, familial,
No,
but like working together?
I understand, no.
No, okay. How helpful was conducting these operations for the police?
I think it helped us confirm, first of all, with Cold Start to get the numbers of vehicles, because we realized obviously that it was a problem and tried to go out and educate the public in regards to that. And then through enforcement, targeting those individuals, we learned that it's a citywide problem, confirmed what we believed, and also gave us a broader look at a number of these different individuals, some of which, as I said before, we didn't necessarily know that they would be responsible for a crime like this. And then as a result, it just expands to the number of crimes and the amount of criminal activity that these individuals are involved in.
With the increase, obviously, things are exploding. What kind of resources are the police going to dedicate towards this to try and solve the problem? Or are you able to?
Yeah, so we've been able to shift our resources and look at these crimes as a whole, as we did here. We determined that there was a problem, and we put a significant amount of resources, both overt and covert, into this issue. And that's how we're addressing a lot of our current issues, if you will, including stolen vehicles, not only the vehicles that are stolen in the early morning hours, but stolen vehicles as a whole, because it is a significant problem. So we've directed resources throughout the service in order to try and address these issues.
Are you taking officers away from other units to different areas to focus on this, or?
It would be officers, essentially, and similar officers that were involved in this operation. So patrol officers would remain in their patrol cars in uniform. DOT teams or district operation teams and support services, all combined, working together to combat the issue that we have.
It's got to stretch thin resources already if you're focusing on this major problem.
We have to, though. It is a significant problem, and the crimes associated to it, we have to do it.
It sounds like that's part of what your frustration is, though. I mean, there's gonna be, there's the public safety aspect, there's the loss of property, expense of that, the effect on that of people. Then there's also stretching your resources that could be used someplace else. I mean, I'm sure you've got something else to do with those officers if you didn't have to do that.
Absolutely. The issue of stolen vehicles, as we all know, is as profound and significant. And putting resources into that is going to drop the numbers a little bit, but it will be difficult. We'll never eliminate it, but we can try and put resources towards that and lower the numbers. But we truly need the community's help. If we got these numbers down to zero and we didn't give them the opportunity to take these vehicles, it would be a start. It's one thing.
In other words, if the public does their part, they could probably do a lot more to reduce those numbers than any amount of policing resources could. Well,
We could do a lot. Then we wouldn't
follow
have.
my thinking.
Yeah, then we wouldn't have to respond to these in particular. We dedicate resources right from the time the call comes in to try and locate these vehicles, and we could put those resources certainly to other things, absolutely. But it is a profound problem, a significant issue in Calgary that we need to address.